Good morning. My name is Susan McGee. I'm the CEO of Homeward Trust Edmonton, Edmonton's community organization under the Reaching Home program working to end homelessness in our community. I'm pleased to welcome the Honourable Ahmed Hussen, Minister of Families, Children and Social Development, and Mayor Don Iveson, and I'm thrilled to join them here today as they announce the details of the next round of Rapid Housing Initiative funding. The federal government's Rapid Housing Initiative is already making a difference in Edmonton. We have 5 supportive housing developments already underway and are adding another 215 units of urgently needed housing to support our efforts. It's been a really critical program for our community. For the first time since 2008, we've seen homelessness increase in our community during the pandemic, and truly rapid deployment of resources is necessary and is making a huge difference in ensuring that we can go back to the progress that we've made in the last decade. There will be time for questions following Minister Hussen and Mayor Iveson's remarks. Jeff Durskoff, will be moderating the question and answer portion of the event, and Crystal Kajener, Director of Affordable Housing and Homelessness, is also here to answer any questions. I'd like to now introduce Minister Hussen, and I would first also like to express my personal thanks and gratitude for being present throughout the pandemic and participating in so many calls to support community organizations under such stressful conditions, including our own. Minister Hussen, thank you very much for coming to the community, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It's a pleasure to join all of you today, including alongside Mayor Iveson, who's been really a strong advocate and champion for affordable housing and for the most vulnerable residents of Edmonton, Alberta, but also all across Canada through his advocacy within the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. His leadership is a big reason why we're here today. Thank you also to Susan for being here with us today, and I know that before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we're joining you today from Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people. Nous savons que chaque Canadien mérite un chez-soi sous et abordable, mais beaucoup trop d'entre eux doivent faire un choix impossible entre payer leur loyer et nourrir leur famille. We know that every Canadian deserves a safe and affordable place to call home, but far too many Canadians are put in the impossible position of having to choose between paying for their groceries and paying for their rent. And we also know that the last 14 months has been particularly challenging to the most vulnerable people in our communities. We also know that cities have been on the front lines in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. With Budget 2021 announced just a few weeks ago, we have a clear roadmap to recovery that will see Canada roaring back as a strong, resilient country. Le logement abordable jouera un rôle clé cette reprise, and affordable housing will play a really key role in this economic recovery. Recently, I spoke to Mayor Iveson to discuss this and to talk about the next steps in our support for the City of Edmonton through the Rapid Housing Initiative. Just a few months ago, we announced together 250 affordable housing units for the City of Edmonton through this really important initiative. And we're not stopping there. We're seeing the impact on the most vulnerable residents. So we're not stopping there. We're expanding this program. We're taking a 4,700 success story and turning it to a 9,200 success story from coast to coast to coast. That's over 9,200 families who will have a safe, permanent, affordable place to call home from coast to coast to coast. And that's what this is really about. Ce que nous amène à la raison pour laquelle nous sommes ici aujourd'hui. And that's why we're here today. J'ai le plaisir d'annoncer un financement de 14,9 millions de dollars pour soutenir le projet de logement à Edmonton dans le cadre du volet des villes de notre initiative pour la création rapide de logements. I have the pleasure to announce $14.9 million in funding to support housing projects located in Edmonton through the city stream of the Rapid Housing Initiative. This is money going straight to the City of Edmonton for its housing priorities for the most vulnerable. This funding will support the rapid creation of over 68 new permanent affordable housing units in the City of Edmonton. And this will help people in precarious housing situations. And for those who are either experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of experiencing homelessness in Edmonton. And just like the first round of the Rapid Housing Initiative, these units will be built in 12 months or less. That's incredible. Cet investissement cible permettront non seulement de stimuler l'économie locale, mais aussi de créer des emplois bien rémunérés. These targeted investments will not only stimulate the local economy, but they will create good middle-class jobs when they are needed the most. Simply put, this is great news for everyone. It's great news for workers, it's great news for families, and it's great news for the local economy. Today's announcement builds on the previous investments in the National Housing Strategy, a program that has grown from $40 billion to $72.5 billion. And under this National Housing Strategy, we've invested over $138 million to help build over 1,100 housing units in the city of Edmonton. That's simply incredible. And it's because of great outcomes like this that we're accelerating funding and getting as much money out the door as possible. Not only through the Rapid Housing Initiative, we are reallocating future dollars in the co-investment fund and the rental construction financing initiative and bringing them forward so that we can help Canadians and Edmontonians now. That includes more money for women's focused housing. It includes more supportive housing, supportive services, shelters, and conversion of commercial properties into residential units. Since the beginning of this pandemic, we moved early and quickly to make sure that the most vulnerable people were taken care of. We've already invested close to $700 million under Reaching Home. This is the federal response to homelessness. And in budget 2021, we're investing a further $567 million over the next 2 years, starting next year. We're also proposing to put together a pilot program and invest $45 million to solve veteran homelessness. All taken together, we are not only aiming to reduce chronic homelessness in Canada, but we are actually eliminating chronic homelessness once and for all. And I know the mayor has been an amazing champion of using all the resources possible, tracking data, and making sure that that all hands on deck approach is brought to bear, so that we can not only manage homelessness, but actually reduce it and ultimately eliminate it. Il s'agit d'avoir une meilleure qualité de vie où chacun a une chance égale de réussir. This is about making sure that everyone has a better quality of life, and it is also making sure that everyone has an equal chance of success, because housing matters. That's the key takeaway. Housing matters now more than ever because of the COVID-19 pandemic. As we've asked people to shelter at home, to control and curb COVID-19, our homes have become places of sanctuary, refuge, and safety. Imagine if you're being told to shelter at home, but you have no home. This is what it's about. It matters to the well-being of Canadians. Having a roof over your head, a safe and affordable place to call home, matters for your social and economic well-being. And it matters now as we build back better. We can't go back to the same normal approach. Normal was part of the problem. We have to build back better, and that means we have to be inclusive in our economic growth, meaning we have to include everyone and make sure that no one is left behind as we reopen and rebuild our economy after the COVID-19 recession. Merci, Monsieur le Maire, pour tout votre travail acharné. Thank you so much, Mayor Iveson, for your hard work and for your advocacy. And I just really want to emphasize this again for those who didn't hear me the first time. Mayor Iveson has been a champion for affordable housing, for rapid housing solutions, for using data to have better outcomes in terms of reducing and eliminating homelessness. He's demonstrated that leadership in Edmonton. And he hasn't stuck to Edmonton alone. Your leadership in the Federation of Canadian Municipalities as a minister has helped me figure out a better way to deliver rapid housing solutions. And in fact, the Rapid Housing Initiative is really a product of those conversations that we've had together. So I really want to thank you for that. And, you know, it's great because every time I see you, we have another great day for families in Edmonton. So this is another day that we can put into the check mark. And I'm glad to join you in person for the first time in 14 months to make this really important announcement. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your team's ability to really leverage federal dollars to result in real, permanent, affordable housing solutions in Edmonton. And I can tell you there's more to come. The project stream is bigger than even before, 100% more. And we'll do a lot of great things together. So over to you, Mr. Mayor. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister Hussen, for those kind words and for making the journey. This is your first trip, I understand, out west or anywhere on an airplane for that matter in 14 months. So we're very pleased that it's with Edmonton and very pleased that you brought $14.9 million for our community and for housing outcomes where we're very closely aligned. So a big welcome to you and your team. Thank you to Susan for emceeing and for the tremendous work that Homeward Trust and all of the agency partners have put in on implementing the previous round of Rapid Housing Initiative. As our work now aligned with the federal government towards ending chronic homelessness here in Edmonton notches forward yet again. So COVID-19, of course, has underlined the fact that without addressing social inequalities like homelessness, we undermine Alberta's resiliency and our ability to bounce back as a community. And this is why a shared commitment to ending homelessness among all orders of government is so crucial to our community's future success. Now, this particular funding commitment from the Rapid Housing Initiative allows the City of Edmonton to make further strides in our goal to end chronic homelessness in our city while reducing stresses on our community's health, justice, and law enforcement systems. That is the big payoff here. In addition, obviously, to meeting people's needs with greater dignity, transitioning them from homelessness to community support. So the $14.9 million announced today will create a minimum of 68 units of more badly needed supply of supportive housing in our community, and we'll see how much we can stretch that. But each one of those units brings us closer to our goal of the 600 units of supportive housing we were aiming to build by next year. And these new units put the city's supportive housing total now at 468, which is well on our way, but still not at our target. And the need has grown on account of COVID-19. So there's still a gap here that we need to work together to fill. But this does move us further in closing that gap. And with this funding, the federal government is responding directly to frontline municipal advice from mayors and housing leaders and community advocates from across this country. And so today's initiative through the Government of Canada and CMHC will help some of Canada's most vulnerable people and families at a time where people are really struggling due to the disproportionate impacts on vulnerable people of the pandemic. Now, municipalities continue to lead the national response and recovery from COVID-19 on the ground. And today's announcement is another important milestone in that effort in direct partnership and relationship with the federal government, and it will help us lay the foundation for a better and more inclusive economic recovery. And while this is, again, a promising step forward in our goal to end homelessness, as we look to bring more supportive housing units online through programs like RHI, we still need the provincial government to step up to ensure that these units have the embedded on-site operating support they need to ensure that people remain housed and society gets all those health and justice and social disorder benefits of keeping people successfully housed. So there's still a role for the provincial government here, and we await their support. Now, that operating support ensures service providers are available to help people recover from physical, mental, and substance use disorders contributing to and exacerbated by chronic homelessness. So solving chronic homelessness is not just about four walls and a roof. It's also about treating the issues that have contributed to and led to that homelessness in the first place. And that's why the city is currently asking for a commitment of $7.8 million for the on-site supportive housing services which are needed to turn the lights on in these RHI units so generously provided by our federal partners. These social and public health services fall under the jurisdiction of the provincial government, and so we still need the provincial government to step up to make the most use of these resources. And I would say that in the first round of the program, we had to rearrange dollars otherwise going to frontline services to turn the lights on in the first round of units. We can't do that indefinitely without undermining the work of our agency partners on the front line serving people experiencing homelessness today. And we, in fact, were turned down for $68 million worth of funding in the project stream in the first instance because of the absence of provincial support. That's more than 400 units of badly needed housing, $68 million worth of federal aid that Alberta left on the table. That money is going to go to other provinces. Those jobs are going to go to other communities because the province of Alberta has not yet delivered on the evidence-based supports that need to be embedded to lever these units. And so it's my hope, and we continue to advocate strongly to the government of Alberta, that in the now billion-dollar project stream coming with the second round of RHI, that Albertans will be able to benefit from this federal support, will be able to get the jobs, will be able to get the badly needed units, and hundreds more vulnerable Edmontonians will be able to get off the streets into a place to call home. So we will continue to advocate for that and make the case for that. It would be a tremendous shame if additional federal dollars were left on the table because of the government of Alberta's inaction on embedded supports. That said, I don't want that to dampen for a moment the enthusiasm and gratitude we have for the federal government's extraordinary leadership on housing over the last several years, and which has just been amplified specifically by the Rapid Housing Initiative, that last $2.5 billion of the $72.5 billion in the National Housing Strategy commitment. So we would not be making the progress we're making today without the federal leadership that we've seen. And on behalf of the City of Edmonton, a minister to you and to your colleagues in Ottawa working on this every day, we really appreciate the partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll, and I'll be moderating today. So unfortunately, we have limited time today. So each journalist will have a chance to ask one question, followed by a quick follow-up. So keep in mind you have the Minister, the Mayor, Susan McGee from Homeward Trust, and Crystal Kajener from City Administration here to answer questions. So first, we'll head to Jeremy Thompson, and then after that, we'll go to Dustin Cook. So Jeremy, go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, everybody. It's Jeremy from CTV here. Mayor, I guess I'll start with you. Did I hear you right? You said that last time during the first round of this RHI rollout, the city basically missed out on about 400 units because the province basically wouldn't play ball?
Yeah, there are two streams to the program. The city stream, which is allocation-based, and that's what we're receiving today is now an allocation from the second round of RHI funding. And then there's the application-based stream, and there were some projects granted out of that, but the big ones we were going after that require embedded wraparound services provided and funded by the government of Alberta in their mandate. There were $68 million worth of projects there for 420 units that didn't go ahead, and the principal black mark against them was the absence of provincial support. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen in the next round now that there's $1 billion available in the project stream on an application basis, in addition to these 14.9 million which are coming directly to the city based on the allocation model. I want to make sure that Albertans and Edmontonians and our vulnerable people and our construction workers don't miss out on the next round of funding. This is why we so urgently need the government of Alberta to step up in their jurisdiction and fund embedded services, which will actually save Albertan taxpayers money in avoided healthcare costs and avoidable interactions with the justice system that are in the system today because of chronic homelessness. So it's a no-brainer to me, and the sooner they do it, the more aid we can lever in this housing program for Albertans who need it.
Jeremy, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just a follow-up for the minister. Minister, you tout the good relationship you have with Mayor Iveson and the city of Edmonton. I imagine there are conversations happening at the provincial level as well. I'm just sort of wondering your take on this, sort of resistance, it seems, from the province to sort of step up here. What's your take on this?
Well, we've always said that every government has a role to play in eliminating chronic homelessness. The federal government cannot do it alone in terms of reaching or even exceeding our targets in the national housing strategy. We need all levels of government. We need the private sector. We need the nonprofit sector. So obviously, the provinces have to do their part, and we're working with them. We are communicating the same concerns around making sure that we have supportive services to accompany the federal capital dollars that build affordable housing through the Rapid Housing Initiative. I just want to point out that the Rapid Housing Initiative is unique in the sense that we pay 100% of the costs, the capital costs of the project. That includes the cost of land. So we're stepping up in a big way, and we hope other levels of government will also leverage those federal dollars to turn them into affordable housing, permanent housing for the most vulnerable in our communities.
We're going to go with Dustin now, and then we'll go to Natasha after that. Dustin?
Hello, my question is for the mayor and maybe also Crystal, but I can follow up offline after. Mr. Mayor, I'm wondering if there's any details on where these at least 68 units are going. How many buildings is that? I imagine they're coming out of what was left on the table for the project stream, but do we know how many buildings this is going to be and where they're going in the city? And has council approved these sites?
I'll defer to Crystal on that one.
Thank you very much for the question, Dustin. So with the announcement today, we'll be taking a look at the investment plan that was submitted previously, which included a number of projects that were not funded, as the mayor mentioned. And we'll be confirming that those projects are still potential projects that could be invested in, and doing a bit of a process to confirm whether or not we need to do a new intake, to look at other potential options as well. So once we've had a chance to assess over the next few weeks here, we'll be bringing back a report to City Council, most likely in August, asking them to approve a recommended approach with specific projects in mind. So that's how we'll be addressing or identifying the one or two specific sites that the 68 units will be accommodated within.
Dustin, do you have a follow-up?
I do, thank you. This one is for the mayor. Mr. Mayor, so you mentioned the need for the operating support from the province. That $68 million is still on the table on the project stream. How is that dialogue going? Are you hearing willingness, or what are you hearing about the reasoning for the reluctance to invest these operating dollars?
It's the RHI first phase project stream's fully subscribed.
Yes, but one of the things we're doing, and I'm glad I can clarify this, is because now we have an additional $1 billion under the project stream, whereas last time we had $500 million, we can go and fund way more projects, including, and in fact, especially the projects that were unfunded last time. There were a lot of good, viable projects that we simply couldn't proceed with last time because we ran out of money. And, because the enthusiasm in various communities across the country for stepping up and leveraging those federal dollars was so high that the number of projects submitted through the project stream far exceeded the funding. But the good news is now that we have $1 billion for the project stream, we can go down and re-examine those projects and with a view of funding them. In fact, last time, the letter that I sent to all those proponents was that we're not rejecting you, we just don't have enough money for this round. I will attempt to get more money through the budget, and if we are successful, we will re-examine your project. So not only does Edmonton have an opportunity to fund more projects through the city allocation, whatever is beyond the 14.9 million can also be looked at through the project stream, and both have 60 days to resubmit. And in fact, in the project stream, there's an opportunity to re-examine projects and an opportunity to improve applications. We've also learned a lot through the first round, and so we're a little bit more flexible in some of the criteria and so on, and some of the points that we are awarding to the projects.
The $68 million worth of projects, this $14.9 million may in fact fund one or two of those to move ahead. All the projects are still in the queue and we'll go after it very aggressively. Again, the thing that would strengthen our case the most would be the Government of Alberta committing to the lights on funding and the wraparound services to make the unit successful in keeping people housed. So the best thing Alberta can do to ensure that we maximize our opportunity from the project stream is to follow the evidence-based approach to embedding the services and begin to realize the savings in health and justice that primarily accrue to the province as well. So, so we'll continue to press for that. And our business community is pressing very hard. They're one of the principal concerns I'm hearing from small business and from our large downtown businesses is that the perceived challenges with safety and social disorder in our business districts is a major risk to the economic recovery of Main Street, Edmonton. And so our business community is as lit up about this, one, for compassionate reasons, but two, for strategic business and COVID recovery reasons as I've ever seen. And we continue to get letters coming in from business leaders who are advocating on our community's behalf to the Government of Alberta, faith community leaders who are advocating to the Government of Alberta. I have to think at some point that if they're tired of hearing from me that, and this is not about me at all, that eventually the message, at least from our business community, will get through to this government that if we're serious about Alberta's economic recovery, we have to make sure that our business districts are not places where people are languishing and suffering when there's a better answer and federal dollars on the table to put roofs over their head. And so I'm optimistic that eventually that this will break through, and we do have allies within government who agree. And Mr. Corbould is working very closely with some of his former colleagues in administration over there to really clarify the case and the return on investment to Albertans. And so we are doing everything that we can. Shortly after this meeting, I'll be sending another letter to Minister Sawney outlining the need and the opportunity here to make the most of this federal support that we can pull down for Albertans who need it.
Minister, Mr. Mayor, we're getting tight on time, so we're going to go to Natasha now and then Sarah after that. Natasha?
Hi, just a couple points of clarification. Mayor Iveson, you mentioned the need for $7.8 million, I think it was, from the province for the wraparound turning on the lights. Can you put that into context into, is that for specifically the 68 units and this round of units?
No, that's for these units and the ones that we've previously had to divert other program funding to turn the lights on. So that would make us whole and allow Susan McGee and her team to recapture the dollars that they've had to divert into supporting the units from the first round of RHI. So that is what's owed back to the ecosystem, as it were, inclusive of the lights on dollars for these units.
Natasha, would you like a follow-up?
Yeah, so the first phase was 250 units, correct? And then this phase is 68 units.
Yeah, and that was, I think, $5.9 million to turn the lights on for the first set of units, and then the difference would be for these units.
Okay, so that's a total of, okay, no, that's good. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha. Sarah, we'll go to you, please.
Minister, have you encountered this problem with provinces not covering operating costs elsewhere in Canada or just in Alberta?
Look, we, as I said before, we all have to work together to make sure that we're all doing our part to enable every Canadian to have a safe and affordable place to call home. That includes the most vulnerable individuals in our communities. And I completely reiterate the mayor's point about how this is actually better for our communities in the long run in terms of not just on a humanitarian basis, but in terms of the social and economic costs to law enforcement, to the criminal justice system, to the healthcare system. When people have a roof over their head, they're able to pursue the things that they would like to do in their life, whether it's going back to school or getting a job. When you don't have a safe and affordable place to call home, that's extremely difficult to do so. So society has not only better economic, but also better social outcomes as a result of this. So we have to, we have to think in the long term. This is what we should be doing. We should all be working together to do everything that we can to make sure that every Canadian in our communities has a safe and affordable place to call home. Now, it's always a challenge, and I know fiscally, all orders of government have competing priorities, but this is a key one, and we have demonstrated not only through the leadership, but the investments, but also through the data that we've been getting from FCM and others, of the importance of these investments and the social and economic returns that we get. There's simply no comparison. Doing nothing is actually more costly in the long run. So the smart thing to do is to invest, to remain ambitious, to be vigilant in terms of making sure that we're responding to the needs that have increased as a result of the pandemic, and to work together. I'll admit that we can't reach these targets alone. We need the provincial governments to step up, and we need the municipalities to also collaborate with us, which they're doing very well. Thank you.
Sarah, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, sorry, Minister, I just felt you didn't answer my question. Have you had other provinces not step up for the operating costs? Is that the reason that some projects in other cities perhaps have not gone ahead as well? Or is this unique to our city and our province?
Well, certain projects didn't go ahead for various reasons. One of them is the issue of lack of supportive services from provinces. I haven't done a tabulation of which provinces did what, but I can tell you that we exceeded our target in the first round. We had an ambitious target of 3,000 permanent affordable housing units, and we are on track to achieve over 4,700. That's because provinces did step up and communities did step up to provide those wraparound supports, and we hope they do that again. I'll be meeting with my counterpart, Minister Pond, this afternoon in Calgary, and obviously this is one of the things that I'll be mentioning to her, that it is important that we continue to work together to make sure that we are doing our part to support communities, to make sure that they're achieving their housing targets and putting a roof over people's heads so that they can be healthier, they can be safer, and they can be more resilient.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here to discuss the Rapid Housing Initiative. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.